You tell me. Bonjour, dear friends. We're going to start again. I welcome all of you from all over the United States joining us. Forgive us for this little technical problem. Those things happen, but we are together, and this is what counts. This is our JCB Live Happy Hours, and we have some amazing guests tonight. This is going to be so thrilling. But first and foremost, I want to open, the bubbles of life, the bubbles of victory from Buena Vista. And we're going to talk a lot about victory tonight, because victory is what life for many of us has been all about over the last century, and the exciting time we've lived over all those years. And I share this passion with many other great friends, including one of the most incredible couple of all time that I've adored for so many years and I've admired. We've done so much together, from organizing the Sonoma Wine Auction and really breaking records to traveling around the world. They're amazing philanthropists. They are incredible success in their own life, in their health world, and obviously have become a great success as well in the wine world. We're so excited to welcome tonight, to be with all of us, the incredible couple, Mary and Joe Anderson. So Mary Dewane and Joe Anderson, they are in Sonoma right now from their unbelievable ranch and beautiful estate on the hills of the Russian River. Look at them, they look beautiful. And we share an incredible passion together. But first of all, Mary and Joe, cheers. We're going to have the bubbles of victory, you know, the champagne of France.
We should have pulled
Yes, bubbles back there.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. We're going to start with liberation right away. But Mary and Dewane, what is so thrilling is you've had an amazing life into the entire world of healthcare and phenomenal businesses, and you decided to settle in the wine country. So tell us a little bit briefly about this journey before we dive into the phenomenal topic that we all love, which is Victory Day.
Well, Jean-Charles, we ended up here because I think it's the most beautiful place on earth, is it not?
We fully agree.
And we were in healthcare before, and which we had a long and wonderful career, but we decided to move here and start a winery, Benovia, in the heart of the Russian River Valley, because of the place, of the beauty, sheer beauty of it. And also because, of course, of the wine, the very, very wonderful Pinot Noir and Chardonnays for us.
And that's what drives your love and passion, is Pinot and Chardonnay, right?
It really is.
Where did you get this passion for Pinot and Chardonnay more specifically? Because we are neighbors with Deloach Vineyards. We love each other. But when I first met you, I found you so knowledgeable and passionate and you know, big collectors of Pinot. How did that happen?
So for me, I went to France when I was young. I spent a couple years in Paris, and that's where I was introduced to, of course, the beautiful Burgundian wines, but Pinot Noir. And it's been a love of mine my entire life. And I found Paris engaging. I traveled to Burgundy and found it equally and more engaging, and the wine's amazing. So here we are in our journey, and we're not young anymore, but we're richer perhaps for our experiences that we've had and the amazing wine that we have drunk, including your two amazing wineries that we visited while we were on our trip this past year, both the Domaine de la Beaujolais, as well as the
well said.
Merci. And also the one that was your father's, named after him, Jean-Claude Boisset.
That's right. Well, thank you for your visits. What is so exciting about Mary and Joe is they are incredible philanthropists as well. and they're absolutely fabulous dynamos and catalysts of the wine region and really giving back a lot. And we share together an incredible passion that is history. And many of you know I've been extremely involved throughout my life with a variety of organizations that really helped my grandparents when they were born during the First World War, became orphans, and then re-enter the Second World War as resistant. Last year, many of you know, we created a great wine named 6644, where the money went to veteran charities in the US. What is so exciting is today we're celebrating Victory Day. And our friends, Mary and Joe, last year created something unbelievable that really triggered American interest, not only in France, but French interest in Normandy. So Joe, would you, as we taste your incredible Pinot, would you tell us all about it? Because this is so, one, commanding, and two, maybe what Victory Day means to you.
I'll be happy to, Jean-Charles. It's wonderful to see you. Hey, the whole purpose, you know, last year was the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And the D-Day squadron was formed, and they asked if we wanted to participate. And I said, sure. And the whole motivation was to honor my dad, my uncles. You saw a picture of my dad on the front in Italy. He was the guy on the far left. My uncle Sam, who was a flight engineer on a B-29 flying off of Tinian. And there's another picture of my Uncle Jim, who was on LST in the South Pacific. So it started off honoring them.
Wow. They all served. For how many years did they serve?
My dad was overseas over 3 years. In fact, when he came home from overseas, my oldest sister, Mary Martha, was 3 years old. He never saw her. She was born, and he went overseas. And my Uncle Jim was the same thing. And my Uncle Sam, flying off of Tinian, I only think he flew there for about 6 or 8 months. But they all served, and thank God they all came back.
That's amazing. And tell us about this journey that you've done, because this is amazing. As you tell us about it, I think we should try the incredible wine that you've produced, that is Liberation.
Liberation. So the picture that's up behind us now, the person on the left, that's my dad, front in Italy. So this wine is from our Tilton Hill vineyard out towards the coast. That vineyard is 12 acres, and it's planted with heritage and Pommard clones. And Mike Sullivan crafted this wine. This is our third vintage of Liberation. In the first 2 years of Liberation, the proceeds went to help World War II veterans get to Europe and help some of the other D-Day squadron members join us in the flight across. And so it was one heck of a journey, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I need to sip some of this wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is fabulous. What a Pinot. Unbelievable. And this is, for many of our friends who typically go to the Loach and spend a lot of time in the Russian River, we are neighbors with Benovia Winery. In fact, the beautiful Mary, you could see her gorgeous piece of jewelry around her neck right now. And it's the emblem, the family crest, the logo of Benovia. Look at this. Gorgeous. Fabulous design. So, Joe, what inspired you to do, besides your family, of course, the motivation of doing this amazing journey across the Atlantic? I thought it would be very interesting for all our friends who are with us tonight on this special day, for you both to tell us that journey across the world and really actually redoing what happened on D-Day.
Yes, this was the 75th anniversary of D-Day. At the 70th anniversary of D-Day, only one American plane showed up. And so a gentleman came back and asked if we would help form a squadron so we could have a squadron of airplanes go fly back over the North Atlantic and to celebrate the 75th anniversary. Remember, these airplanes are my airplane's 77 years old. And so we all agreed to do it. I chipped in some dough. We got the thing going, and but it was really to honor, as I said, my mom and dad, my mother especially, because she stayed home alone, which is a trauma unto itself. But you know, as we went across the country, and there's a picture here of us with one of the veterans.
Patrick is playing the engineer right now, and he's
He had to
Pulling
be
it up as we speak.
And so what happened is, as we met these veterans, as we went across the country, specifically here in Sonoma County, Dale Tillman was one of the pilots in the first wave dropping paratroopers into Normandy. He is now 100 years old. That's him right there. That's yours truly, and my chief pilot, Jeff Kaufman, one of the finest pilots in the world. And that's Dale between us. He flew 3 missions that day into Normandy, dropping paratroopers, gliders, etc. And so as I met Dell, we become very good friends. And other veterans across the country, some in Arizona, some in Oakland, and some on the East Coast. It all became much bigger than just my uncle and my dad, my uncles and my dad. You end up getting into just an incredible experience of these people's stories. And when you see these airplanes, part of the D-Day squadron,
Oh, gorgeous.
they just start talking. It's kind of a cone of safety. That's my airplane flying right at the Statue of Liberty as we're going down the Hudson River.
And we were flying with the D-Day squadron, which is what we joined up with, 15 planes strong. There's our plane in view flying over the White Cliffs of Dover. We were leaving England on our way to Normandy at this point, and there were 15 of us going. Amazing group of men and women who were reenacting what happened with the U.S. forces on D-Day.
So Patrick,
Moving experience, huh?
so if you can go back to the map, Patrick, we started in Santa Rosa. We went to Phoenix from here. You see our flight there. I then got picked up in Milwaukee. That's the flight in the middle, and then into Oxford, Connecticut on the East Coast. That's where the squadron formed up. From there, we flew to Goose Bay in Canada, up in Newfoundland. And the weather was absolutely terrible. I mean, we were throwing ice out the props. It was very interesting flying a 77-year-old airplane through these kind of weather conditions.
Can only imagine.
Well, so from there, Mary was not part of this flight. It was just myself and a couple of pilots and a mechanic.
I joined up in Iceland.
And so the weather was so bad, we decided to lead the squadron north, and we went all the way up to Sandreström on the west coast of Greenland at the top. And that's with, there's no bailouts. Once you get out over the North Atlantic there's no place to go. So.
And is that exactly the routes that they used on, obviously, to come for D-Day, right?
This is the same route. There is a city on the bottom of Greenland called Narsarsuaq, which is the preferred route, but the storms are so bad there, we bypassed it to Sandreström, which was also built for World War II, just what we did. So we landed there, spent the night, and then we took off the next day across the ice cap. The ice cap is 10,000 feet on top of Greenland. And the point is when you get about halfway across there, you're at the point of no return. You can't go back and you can't go forward. So if we lost an engine at that altitude with the amount of weight we carried, would have slid into the ice cap.
Luckily, you know how to skydive, so I know you will jump off the plane and know how to land.
And the polar bears have been chasing us around the airplane.
You're so charismatic that I'm sure you'll become friends even with a polar bear. Specifically wearing that very tight little pilot suits you had earlier.
Like
this
that.
Is very sexy.
Maybe they like Pinot Noir.
Maybe
we were carrying.
So we then flew across the north and landed in Iceland. And Mary was there to greet us in Iceland. Why don't you tell Mary what it was like?
Well, I was really happy to see them, as you might imagine, because they talk about the polar bears, the weather. So I was really thrilled to see them, and 2 of Joe's children were with me, and we had tears in our eyes, and also to see everyone join up, all the other pilots, the crews, all the amazing veterans who actually flew over that we met up with. So it was very heartwarming.
Yeah, for sure. And people are so excited. The comments are great, and people are saying they were so honored to tour some of the countries you've described, and obviously Normandy too. And many of our friends, like Laurie Turner, is saying, I was so blessed to be able to see it. How emotional it is.
Yes,
So then you landed in this famous area of France. So how was that?
Well,
Normandy.
let me tell you, as Mary said, that when we flew out on the night of June the 5th to Normandy, that's when the paratroopers went in the night before. They landed at about 2 a.m. in the morning,
Yeah.
5 a.m. in the morning. That was very emotional for all of us. And entering into France, I will tell you, was a time machine. We all felt like we were back in 1944. Obviously we're not being shot at, but to be there was just amazing, and to be in France and to be received by the French people as we were received by the Icelandic people and the English people. We were heroes. 50,000 people showed up at Duxford, England to greet us. 55,000 sent us off. When we flew over the coast of England, there were 100,000 Brits on the ground waving.
Waiting.
100,000 waving to us.
Well, thank God the friendship of Churchill and Roosevelt, right?
Yeah, and the French people.
Yes, the French people.
Jean-Charles, you talked about the resistance, and the resistance does not get the due it is deserved. And
well, I brought you a little thing as you mentioning that. So my grandparents on both sides, obviously became orphans during the First World War and moved into the second as active soldiers, officers. So both of my grandmothers with my grandparents were resistant. And the love of the United States for me really started because of many of their friendships with the Americans and the admiration of it. And I brought you a little picture as my grandfather here as an officer of reserve.
Yes, fabulous.
Can you believe here, September 23rd, 1939, my grandfather is called the next day to be an officer. So rush with my grandmother, gather a few people in the village, and they get married. Luckily, they had a little glass of Pinot. They did boom, boom that night. Big success. 9 months later, my aunt was born. My grandfather got prisoner in a camp in the middle of Germany, escaped dressed as a German soldier, comes back, and I'm going to show you a picture, which is quite amazing. Comes back, this is him in the camp.
Oh my God.
And we had them write a little book on it. And they both died last year and the year before at 104 and 98. And this is my grandfather coming back from the war, holding his daughter. And luckily, and I will leave you with that thoughts, and all of us, as we live what we live right now with, pandemic and so forth, he did again, boom, boom, and my mother was born 9 months later. So he saw my grandmother twice in 5 years. And you commended me when we had the twins because you said, Jean-Charles, 2 lovely daughters at once. Congratulations, Gina and Jean-Charles. I always used to say to my grandfather, he did much better because he saw her twice. It's called 100% success. Well, drink to liberation. Hey, tell us, Mary, what you feel about this wine, because this is a special offering you're doing just right now, obviously, which people can acquire through. Tell us how people can obviously get it and where is the proceeds of the funds going?
Thank you for bringing that up. It can be acquired by going onto the Benovia website, www.benovia.com. And importantly, so our 2018 vintage, which will be bottled, it's going to be released on Memorial Day, but people can order it and we'll send it. I think we even have 2.5 cases of the 17 around. So
love it
too. But our 18 proceeds is going to another very important undertaking that I think people will be interested in. We have a woman named Adrienne Hall who is directing a film about our journey, mixing in some of the stories about World War II and original footage. And Gary Sinise is going to be narrating it. It's a documentary. And the proceeds are going to go to the Gary Sinise Foundation. And we hope that everyone will have the opportunity, we'll let everyone know about it when it's released.
I think it's brilliant because you're going to give the opportunity to people to actually live long with this amazing story and journey. They could go back to it and really dive into history. For both of you, what is your greatest passion besides wine and obviously health? What else is there? Because I know you're huge fanatic of history. So what really gets you so passionate?
Every challenge that comes to us, we end up finding something better than we ever thought. So with our current pandemic, so we're sitting here at our property in California. I'm blessed to have my daughter Monica and her husband John and their 3 children here in our guest house. My granddaughter and her husband are in the back 2 guest bedrooms here, using them as offices. And my son Jake is coming in tomorrow with his wife and 2 children. And they'll be in the carriage house. And so I'll have almost my entire family here. And we've been hunkered down. And the great thing, Jean-Charles, is it's like the old days where you grew up and I grew up. You have family meals together.
Yeah.
You have 3 generations running around the table. And it is just a blessing. And one of the things I'd like to say about liberation is we thought about changing the name of our wine this year to something to celebrate World War II. But part of our trip last year was we went to Germany to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Berlin airlift.
Yes.
And we met many, many of German people. And they said, thank you for liberating us. It never dawned on me. We liberated them from Nazism.
Of course.
So we liberated the German people. We liberated the Japanese people. And that's why we left the name Liberation. Because
I think it's a brilliant name. It's to liberty in the world, freedom, democracy, and allowing everybody to be who they want to be.
In these last 75 years, think about it. As partners across the world with France and England and Germany and Japan and Spain, we created, this has been such a creation for 75 years. There's never been an expansion of the world economy that we've seen over the last 75 years.
Very true.
People who came back, restarted their lives, went to school, raised families, and we're all the benefits of all their hard work. And that's why, to your grandparents and to you, Jean-Charles, our dear friend.
Absolutely.
Here to
Well, what is so exciting? So I'm going to toast with, now I'm going to finish Liberation, because we all are stewards of history, loving history, and learning from the past to build a greater future. And very similar to you, we've dedicated the victory, thank you, the Victory Day, to 1945, because exactly the pictures you showed us, one of my grandparents were there on D-Day and was operating boats and being really active on the Atlantic Ocean, which was obviously moving quite a bit that night. And I really want to raise this glass to not only Liberation, Victory Day, but all the people as well who are still with us. We were obviously today, all of us going to be in France. You were going to be, I believe, in DC. And we were all going to be celebrating May 8th. I think of the French ambassador who's done such a great job in the US, as well as Jamie, the American ambassador to France, and all the nations getting together to really celebrate what is this amazing democratic moment of history, which is the end of World War II. And I think it's so important that we make wine like this together. We drink it, we donate back, and we make history still alive, right? Because if we tend to forget or rewrite history differently, this is not exactly what happened, and we tend to repeat it, don't you think?
Correct.
Very well said. Very well said.
So you love history and you love service. Why so much? How did you decide to really take this turn in your life and be such amazing people for the community and all that you do? Give us a piece of advice, because, we've traveled a lot together. We've had so much great times, and we've had a lot of bottles of wine going very early in the morning.
Over the world together.
I want everyone to hear it.
Jean-Charles, it's the same as you. We learned it from our parents and our grandparents. The value of work, the value of giving to others, the value of taking care of those who are less fortunate than we are. And it's become a way of life for us. I was raised that way, you know, married.
As
the
was
same.
And
so-
Mary on a big farm, right? In the Midwest.
a small farm, really, but
Dairy farm.
but a dairy farm, and it was of the land.
I'm delighted, Mary, you finally chose the right liquid to drink.
I know. I couldn't agree more.
So that's just a way of life, and it always has been. And we're all taught by the good sisters. I was taught by the Jesuits, social justice and being people for others. You can make a lot of money, but you can always take care of others. It's never about me or you. It's about the blessings that we've had that's been able to help us be successful in a beautiful country, in a great country.
The
and
best.
give back as you do so much, John Charles.
I have to say, Jean-Charles, you give back a lot. I don't
Well,
want to.
it's Mary, to all the people tonight watching us. Hopefully we'll get those wines. We'll continue to enjoy what we both do with so much passion and in many ways liberation as well, because I think your term is very well chosen, liberation. I think it's so important. How do you see, maybe a last question, the evolution of the situation we're in, and what's your advice for anyone watching?
Well, it's interesting you should bring that up. It's obviously something we talk about constantly with friends. And I think someone our age, it's important for us to do our duty by staying in and keeping the hospitals free for other people. I think we'll get by this. The whole world are working on vaccines. And I think that's when we will be able to truly open up. And it's going to be hard for a while, going to be especially hard on the poor. And so we're going to be standing by again to do everything we can for them. But we'll get through this. And, we are privileged at this point, but there's so many people that are going to be in need. Children that are starving already, we hear about. So that will be our focus, but I think we will move on. We will dig out.
Fully agree. Joe, any last comments?
Yeah, John Charles, I don't know rule in business. If you get three people to stick together, you could take over anything. You could take over a union, you could take over a business. And you and Mary and I proved that at the auction where we blew it out the top. And I think if we work together with other people in our community, this community is strong, and we can help the rest of the communities around us grow. And we continue to love each other and work our ass off to get out of this thing, and never forget those who are less fortunate than we are. They're the ones who are doing all the work, who are taking all the risks and providing us our food, working in our vineyards. And we need to make sure we take special care of them as they take special care of us.
Wow. Very powerful words. So I'm going to salute the doves, which I'm wearing with you too, the doves of peace.
Yes.
I'm going to salute to the Franco-American flag. I don't know if you could see it.
And
Friendship, of course, of our two nations, because I think this is so exciting to always say the usual line that I love: ocean separates us, but wine brings us together. And the Franco-American friendship has lived since the beginning of the United States and will continue forever. And I'm so delighted that you were able to share this amazing story. I think we need to toast to Joe, your family, and those great pictures you've shown about this great journey. And I need to have a toast to my grandparents as well, because I know they're watching from.
to
Yes.
you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Here, here.
Cheers
I'm
to you.
delighted, and I know we have many, many questions, but we're going to get you back on at some stage in the future. But thank you so much for joining us. The best to both regions, Sonoma, Napa Valley tonight.
All good things.
Mary and Joe, we love you.
love
Happy
you.
Victory Day.
Adelante.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
À bientôt.